those headphones are taking up the majority of the screenshot.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Smooth Sweat and Suffer podcast with your co-founders and my dear friend Lee Hazard from Strong and Condition and myself, Joe Hotai. We are privileged today to have the wonderful and the impressive Mr. Rob Simpson, aka the Beef Castle, Lee calls him at times. He is a unit, very, very strong, very humble guy, and a great supporter within this community. Rob, it's great to have you, mate. Great to see you. Thanks for making time.
No, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Lee. It's very good to be here, guys. I've been pretty excited the last couple of weeks about getting on and meeting you both. And so, yeah, really, really good to be here. Thanks.
Likewise, mate. Thank you. It's good to see you. And you, just very quickly, you're based in Melbourne, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, originally from the UK, but I've been in Melbourne about 16 years.
16 years. And what's the weather like there at the moment?
Absolutely gorgeous, mate. 29 degrees and sunny yesterday, 36 today. Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. How's your weather there, Lee?
Absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. It's just constantly raining. I was up at Glencoe this morning. I went with my family, and it was probably one of the scariest car drives of my life. The rain was absolutely torrential, and I planned to get a Burpee video with a stunning backdrop of a mountain, but I couldn't because the weather was just absolutely disgraceful. It would have destroyed my phone, and so basically the weather is it's just brutal, absolutely brutal.
Do you miss that weather, that sort of weather there, Rob?
No, absolutely not, Joe. I had the same conversation with my dad yesterday, FaceTime Dad yesterday, and he always gets up the weather app and he likes to tell me what the weather's going to be for the next 7 days. And he's like, it's rain, fucking rain. And just, no, I don't miss that at all. I love the sun.
Hey, and just while we've got you, can you just give a shout out to those special headphones you've got on there?
Absolutely. So these thank you. Shout out to my daughter Holly for when you sent me the invite through. It sort of said, "Hey, it works better if you've got some headphones." And I looked around the house and I had two options. I had the earpods that Lee's got on today, or I had these that my daughter uses for gaming. So I'm like, okay, let's go up a notch and put on the
it's next level.
The Darth Vader headphones.
Yeah, I mean, not only did it, like as I've already mentioned, do they match your red shoes, but you've also got a wee light at the end of the microphone, which is distracting me somewhat. It looks like an anal probe or something like that.
That's it. Bend over, Lee.
I was going to say, how the heck do you know what those things look like? But anyway, one thing to clarify, Lee doesn't have AirPods on because he can't afford them. Isn't that right, Lee?
I'm saving up for a pair of AirPods. Saving up for AirPods. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, again, very good to see you, Rob. And I guess I would like to start because I know Lee actually mentioned, which I didn't know because I haven't spent a lot of time on those other forums, but he's interacted with you on a couple of other forums and stuff, a lot of strength and lifting related type things, I think, from what I gather. But yep. I guess from my side, really interested to hear about how was it through your conversations and discussions with Lee? Was it through YouTube? Was it due to COVID? Like, what was that? How did you start, mate? How did all this begin?
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll touch on later on the whole kind of history around training. But
yeah,
if we start where we are now, and we'll go backwards. But
yep.
but this year, obviously with Melbourne, we'd been through a lot of lockdown. I think we were the most lockdown city in the world at one point. And so through 2020 into 21, we'd had a lot of lockdown. I'd had the luck of still being able to train in a home gym with weights all the way through that. And I had a powerlifting meeting planned for the beginning of January, or I think it was first week of February 21. And I had a holiday in Tasmania first week of January, and came back from that holiday and I was broken. My hips were gone, my back was gone. I did a lot of driving, and my body doesn't like sitting down in the car for a long time.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I was very lucky that we actually ended up going into another lockdown, and for COVID, and the powerlifting meet got cancelled anyway. And I started 2021 and I think I changed my training log in the forum to 2021, the rebuild, because my body was pretty broken from heavy training. And I started 21 rebuilding again. And part of that rebuilding was kind of looking at not just the heavy weights, like what other conditioning was I doing and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And really at that time, all I was doing was the powerlifting training 3 days a week. And we'd fostered a dog for Australian Border Force, and we were training a dog for Border Force. So my dog walking was my only work that I did that was not powerlifting.
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of months to sort of get started. And 2021, every year in the forum, we have what's called like a transformation thread where people put up photos of themselves, or they put up what they're doing in their training, and they start that in January and it runs to June. And so between January and June, you get a track of how other people are doing and what they're doing. And that was probably the time when I really first started noticing Lee and what Lee was doing. We talked before that. We talked and communicated in each other's training threads and things a bit. But in 2021, I was able to sort of see Lee changing the way he was training, and he was doing these burpee routines, and he was starting to get some really good progress. And all through 21, Lee's answer to anything on the forum was do burpees. Do burpees. Right. So if you sort of said, I'm not getting a good pump in the gym, do burpees. Do burpees. Right. So it was just constant do burpees. But the more I looked at that through, the middle of, or probably the start of 21, I saw the progress. I saw Lee start to transform. His body really changed, and he looked fantastic. He looked really good by the end of it. So I started in my head going, hey, I've got to do something. I've got to add some conditioning. And there were probably two other guys on the forum. Jared Miller, who you've already spoken to, obviously was doing a lot of conditioning. And there's another guy on there whose avatar is Klein Hound. He's an Australian guy. He's just trained to get into the police force. And he's also doing a lot of CrossFit-y style training. A lot of heavy, very strong guy, very strong. But because he was getting into the police, he was doing a lot of running and conditioning and that sort of stuff. So those kind of three guys really put in my head, hey, you got to start doing something, Rob. You can't just lift weights. And if I go back to when I first started on the forum back in 2017, my original training log name was trying not to be a fat dad. And being a fat dad has nothing to do with body weight. It has nothing to do with what you look like, and everything about mindset and about the way you are as a person. And so back in 2017, my daughters and my son were getting at that age, and we'll talk a bit more about them a little later maybe, but they were getting to an age where they were starting to do sports. And I noticed as a parent, when you go to watch them do their sports or help them do their sports at that very young age, there's a real mix between dads who just want to get involved and they want to kick the footy and they want to bowl the ball or catch the ball with their kids and play, and dads who want to take their kids to sports and stand there drinking a coffee. And I just didn't want to be one of those dads. I made in my mind that was my original log, and not being a fat dad was about being a dad who can play with their kids, pick their kids up, build shit, break shit, you name it, like you can do it. You're just a dad who can. I wanted my kids to look up and see me as a dad who can do stuff. And between 2017 and 2021, my training evolved, and I went away from that. I went away from my original principles of training, and I lost that because all I was focusing on was the powerlifting. And so Lee and Jared and the guy's name is Jack, but Kleinhound, they really made me see that I guess I'd kind of lost my way a little bit with what I really wanted to get out of training. I'm never going to be a powerlifting champion. I'm never going to, so what am I doing this for? I'm busting my ass 3 times a week. I can barely get out of bed in the morning. My back hurts, my hip hurts. I've showed everybody how strong I am. I can barely walk up the bloody stairs to put my kids to bed. And it was sort of like, no, I've got to do something. And so that was around probably April 21. I really decided, I've got to do something here. I've got to get back to not being a fat dad, because I'd almost become a fat dad. And so I started introducing some conditioning work in the gym. I was doing a few CrossFit workouts of the day. I was doing some sled work. I think around September, I bought the sandbag. You've seen the work I do with the sandbag, and started doing some sandbag work on a weekend. And then the sandbag work, I was doing that with push-ups. So I wasn't doing any burpees. I was doing it with push-ups. And then I sort of got to the point where I guess I was just not doing anything. In my mind, I was saying I've got to do this conditioning, but I was just still not doing it. I was doing my 1 day of sandbag, and I was doing my 3 days in the gym. And it got to a point where I was like, I've got to do something. Like, stop thinking about it. Stop saying you're going to do it, and just get it done, right? It's as simple as that. And I guess that's where, I'm sorry, it was a very long answer, but that's where the burpees
all good.
That's where the burpees come in, because I guess for me, it was a movement and it was an exercise. I'd done a few burpees in the past, in other training parts of my life. And it was a movement and an exercise that no matter how many excuses you think of, you actually can't think of an excuse not to do burpees, right? Because you don't need equipment, you don't need time, you don't need space. You just need to be physically able, and you can get down on the floor and you can do a burpee, right? And you can tailor the workout, the process, whatever you want to call it. You can tailor that to your needs at the time. So if you're not particularly fit, that's fine. Just do 5 burpees. But if you are fit, or you have been fit in the past, which is probably my case, you know what? Get down and do 50. Why would you do 10? You can do 50, mate. You can do 50. Just get it done and do it, right? And yeah, it's going to hurt, and yeah, you're going to hate it, and it's going to suck. But afterwards, you're going to feel good. And I knew that was the case. I knew that if I just did it, if I stopped thinking about it and I just did it, I would find that there was a benefit. And so I think it was October, late 16 weeks ago today. I actually checked because I thought you might ask me. 16 weeks ago today, I got down and I did the first burpee session, which was supposed to be 50, and then I miscounted, and then I added another 10, and then when I went back, it was 59 burpees or something. It was a really random number because I lost count after about 5, I think. But it was just did that first one, and afterwards felt bloody knackered and felt sick, to be honest. But also felt good, felt like I've done one, and then. I guess I'm that type of person. Once I've committed to doing something, I'm a bit of a kind of jump straight in the deep end kind of guy. So it was, I've done 50. Next I'll do 7. I think I did 70, and then I'll do 100, and so on and so on. And it just built from there. Awesome. And it was the real part of it was, getting back to that, not being a fat dad. It was getting back to being able to play with my kids and still run around with the kids and pick them up and and have fun and just do stuff, even just do stuff, when the wife says, can you get the chainsaw out and chop that tree back, and you got 2 hours of tree cutting to do. In January of 21, I would not have been able to do 2 hours of it. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have been knackered. So whilst I was strong, I wasn't strong. And so now having 16 weeks later, the transformation in terms of that has been amazing, absolutely amazing. So
that's wicked.
That's kind of how it all started. It was really that getting back to being and seeing these guys what they were doing. It was just amazing.
Man, there's a lot in there. That's awesome. I want to come back to ask you some questions in there, but what an incredible story and journey so far, 16 weeks, and how you've progressed and all that sort of thing, and great insight in terms of, and great acknowledgement too. Thanks for mentioning that, what you saw in Lee, what you saw in Jared Miller, and this other guy, Kleinhound, or Jack, I think you mentioned his name was. Great shout out and mention of those guys, because Yeah, it's great to draw that, whether you call it inspiration, whether it's motivation, whether it's in the case of those three guys, information and the inspiration to be able to go ahead and do things, even if the information was as simple as just do burpees, just do
Yeah,
burpees.
10 times a day.
I've got a sore leg, just do burpees.
I know, but you know yourself. You feel the impact, so you just become like a zealot in that respect. You know what I mean? You come evangelical about burpees, and it's only because you want to help people. You know what I mean? It's like finding God,
But
you've just found the burpee.
But you also want to hurt them too, Lee. That's why.
Absolutely, that's one of the best parts of the job.
Yeah.
Because I remember Rob's first video, and you could just see the pain just like sort of seep out of every pore in his body, and
I think
like he was just walking about. You know what I mean? He just came stumbling at the video, like he was almost missing a kebab in his hand coming out of a nightclub. Just had that look about him.
The video makes me laugh the most because I did that first 100, and then I shout Lee out at the end of that first 100, and I get his name wrong.
Yeah, Luke.
I mean, that's how bad burpees were, that they made me think he was a completely different person. So,
and that's it. That we actually, I should have introduced you as Luke. Luke has it. That's where it all stems from, ladies and gentlemen. Those that are wondering from time to time when myself or Rob put down Luke, that's who we're referring to. Lee, the incredible Lee has it. Yeah,
Luke Sky Hazard.
Luke Sky has it. Hey, Rob, I want to ask, how old are your kids? How old are your children?
I've got a daughter who just started high school, so she's 12, and then I've got two children at primary school grades 4 and 5. So right. 9 and 10, nearly 11.
9 and 10.
So we had sort of 3 children, 18 months between each one. Bang, bang, bang. Just got 3 out the way.
And any more on the way? No.
No. Not unless it's a miracle.
And what weight were you competing at when you were right into the powerlifting, just purely the powerlifting, like, or even now? What do you?
So now I'm sitting at about 88.
Yep.
So I'm only 5'7", 171, something like that centimeters. Yeah. So I sit at about 88. I compete at 90, so I try and keep the weight. I have been over 90, but I try and keep the weight as close to 90 as I can without getting too disgusting.
Jesus, I'm the same height as you, Rob.
You're the same height.
Yeah, I'm the same height. I'm at 69 kilos right now.
So when I started back in the gym, when did I start back in the gym? 2016. I was 72 kilos.
Yeah.
Wow, 2016.
In July of 2016, we'll do a history piece and I'll give you a bit of a rundown of the other stuff. But that back then, when I first started back in the gym, I did gym stuff years ago, but when I first started back training with a barbell again in my hands, I was 72 kilos.
Right. So was it your intention to bulk up to like past 85 kilos?
So I mean, maybe if I do I'll give you a bit of a history of training, and then that might sort of build the picture as to that. Yeah, but certainly when I went back in the gym, I actually started back in the gym. We'll do this backwards. I started back in the gym because I was a long distance runner or a middle distance runner, and I had an injury, and that injury meant that I couldn't run for a period of time, and so I did some rehab back in the gym, and I kind of caught the bug of having the bar back in my hands again, and so when I stopped running in 2016, and I decided that I was just going to train predominantly in the gym again, and the focus was purely just to get strong. I was probably the fittest I'd ever been back in 2016, but I wasn't strong. I'd lost a lot of weight, and I was weak. And so I just wanted to build strength when I went back in the gym. I had no desire to worry about body weight or muscles, or it was all about strength. And then that progressed over time into then powerlifting and other things. But the pure focus when I went back in at 72 there was never about weight. It was never about muscles. It was just about just getting stronger with the weights. That was the focus back then.
Yeah, right. And so what are your numbers that you are lifting today? Because you're 88 kilos, compete at 90. What are your squat, bench, and deadlift? What are you doing now or your last competition?
So I didn't compete last year because they cancelled the comps. I did a kind of home test, if you like, which I think the video is on my YouTube, and I squatted 177.5, bench 125, and deadlifted 202 kilos, but that was 202 with kind of kettlebells taped to the end of the bar because I didn't have enough weights at home to lift anymore. So I think right now in my training, I'm doing sets of 4 with squats at 145 kilos. Deadlift last week was sets of 6 at 170. So and bench a little bit less, but I'd probably say I'm if I peaked, I would be around those weights again. I'd probably be a little bit higher on the squat and deadlift, but bench would be about the same.
And you're feeling good?
Around that numbers. Yeah, feeling
That's
good.
Awesome.
I mean, I've always got an ache or a pain. I have what I call wandering pain or wondering pain. So wandering because the pain just wanders around my body, and every day it's in a different location, and wondering because I wake up wondering what the heck is going to hurt today. So, but that's perfectly normal. I've had an issue with my right knee for a year, and I'm pretty certain I've done some tendon damage in there. It's a burning pain. It's constantly in pain, and I just put the knee sleeves on when I squat, and it doesn't seem to affect it. Literally this morning I woke up and my right knee feels like I'm 21 and the back of my left knee hurts. So your body just fools you. Your body just tells you stuff hurts. As long as you've not actually torn something or you have an impaired movement, forget the pain. Like I'm 47 years old. I'm going to be in pain. Like I've got too much mileage on this body to not be in pain,
I think that pain's a mindset thing. I think that if you're deep into training, you'd have to be in like debilitating pain to stop training. I always get kind of like worried when I read people when they've got injuries and they're always looking for advice on how to cure an injury and whatever. And I'm like, just train through the injury. Just train through the pain.
Just do burpees.
Just do burpees. I can't identify with that like mindset. It's like I don't get it. But don't get me wrong. I mean, I can understand why people are scared of training if they've got a bad injury. But I think like guys like us, it's like if we feel a niggle, it's like you just grind through it because you can't stop training. Yeah, it's in the blood.
I think today, Lee, like in our society today, everything we do has become so easy. Like I work in logistics, so I work in warehousing and transport and so on. And all we're doing is looking for ways to minimize manual handling at work, right? So everything is becoming mechanized. Robots are doing everything. Nobody actually does any physical hard labor anymore. Yeah. Well, I mean that's not fair. There are some jobs that are still very physical. Yeah. But in the main, we are trying to find ways to not do it. When I grew up, my dad worked a physical job. He had his own business. He had his own kind of tyre and wheel business. So he did a physical job, fitting wheels and tyres and so on. Then he would come home and he would, build the extension on the side of the house. And then we had an allotment down the road where we'd go and spend 7 hours on the weekend digging potatoes and runner beans. So you had something to eat. Yeah. So, but if you ask someone today to go and dig for 7 hours, you'd kill them. You'd kill most 20-year-olds if you try to ask them to. Maybe not Joe's kids because he sends them out into the fields. But
you better not come back dead.
But you know what? If you could package that as like something that you would use to recover from weight training sessions and people possibly growing muscle, they'll do it. Yeah, because that's all weight training is. It's manual labour ultimately.
Correct. And I think we've become so soft even me. I've become so soft in my life that I force myself to go and do 3 2-hour sessions in the gym and now 4 burpee sessions a week, just to feel like a person, feel like a man, feel like I can do stuff, which is really quite sad. But that is the way that I guess that we've become. That's the
Well,
way
I would think it
society's
would be
become.
sad. I think it would be sad if you did nothing about it. Like, I think that would be sad. But the fact that you're actually trying to combat that by doing stuff, lifting weights, burpees, putting yourself through the dark place, I think that's a testament to, like, obviously getting the gains that you've got. Because I just want to jump back to, like, when I mentioned your weight, I was quite shocked because I thought, like, that's like an absolute unit, that size. Because I see pictures of you and we all know that you're a bit of a tank, but I feel like light and scrawny now that you've told me you're 88 kilograms.
Because you're 69, did you say, Lee?
I'm 69. I'm hovering at 69, 70 at this point. But I'm trying to put weight back on again.
Yeah.
Because I'm no, like, I don't know, man. Guys don't like being that light, do you know what I mean? But it helps with the burpees. But
Definitely.
The difference is when your thumbnail comes up on my TV, because when the kids put on YouTube, your thumbnails come up and my daughter goes, "Oh, Lee's got a 6-pack. Lee's got a 6-pack, Dad. Why haven't you got a 6-pack?" And I say, "I've got a power belly, darling. Like you can't have both."
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I like, because one of the comments that I read of yours, Rob, you mentioned, and it made me laugh. You have a lifting body and a burpee body, and you treat them exclusively as such, so that when you were talking about the injuries and that sort of stuff, you throw yourself into your burpees, you throw yourself into your lifting, and you work hard and train hard, and that's great to see it. But it did make me laugh in terms of the mindset that we have. Yeah, we think that we can do these things that we used to be able to do back in our younger years, let's say, and I'm sure that people must just laugh at us at a lot of the time, if not all the time.
I know my missus definitely laughs at me. She just looks at me and shakes her head all the time. So.
What does your sweetheart do? What does your missus do?
Emma is her name. She's so we've been together.
Shout out Emma.
Yeah, shout out Emma. She's amazing. We've been together probably be getting on 25, 26 years now. We're not actually married. I would say that sinners are grinners, and she says that she's just waiting for a better offer. So, she does work. She works. She was up until last week. She was working 2 jobs, but she sort of works. And she has a flexible work arrangement around school hours. So she's sort of working 9 to 3, but then she does some work in the evening at home. She's currently, I guess you call her role, a business manager for a company that works in the construction industry. So they're a business that does cleaning, and we call it caulking over here, but running the silicon beads around mirrors and tiling. So
caulking.
So when you get a big high-rise new fancy apartment building, they're a business that comes in right at the very end before the buildings are finished and ready to hand over, and they'll do all the final clean and the caulking and make everything look perfect before it gets handed over. So she works for them doing a whole raft of stuff, from business administration, invoicing, finance administration. She goes on site and does measurements for quotes. She prepares tenders for responses.
Oh wow!
Supervises the cleaners when they're on site, like everything. It's a very small kind of mum and dad business. Yeah. And when she started working for them, they were literally running it out of paper boxes in the back of their car, and they didn't really know how to use a spreadsheet. They didn't really know how to do business processes, and so she's been working for them for about 3 years now, and she kind of runs the whole business. That they own it, and they do the physical side, and they deal with speaking to the actual clients and things. But in the back, she
keeps everything in order.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She does at home, keeps everything in order.
Yeah. Good point. Shout out Emma. Those are great points. And I just wanted to go back actually as well to the comments that you were speaking about. You make a really valid point. I think with good intentions, we're trying to make things either easier or, safer for people. But man, there's so much value to just that doing hard work doing things that, you know, you got to lift and move stuff, and then coming back home and then still needing to put in the work and stuff. Whereas you know, these days I find, and even myself have been guilty of it, go to work, think, oh man, I've had a hard day, and then come back and just want to relax. But, you know, I think those people from those generations, like your dad that you're speaking about, were just hard, or harder, in my opinion, anyway. And it's nice to hear somebody like you, and I think even Lee and I, to a degree, trying to instill and keep some of that going, like for ourselves, obviously for the personal and I guess somewhat selfish benefit that we get from it personally, but also for our children to see that it's all right to work hard and to come home and still do some work and still be tired and that sort of thing. You can still move, you can still get stuff done. And yeah, there's a lot of value in that, even though it is, like I said, good intentions, trying to keep people safe and things like that and make things easier at work. But man, blinking, get in there and pick stuff up and move it around. Don't put your back out though, because then you'll be in trouble.
Yeah, and I think it's just doing what our body's designed to do, you know.
Yeah.
I think that, like, with hard work is you've got to kind of like persuade people to work hard by finding something they enjoy working hard at. I mean, like, I've been training for 20 plus years, and it probably took me like 21 of those years to realise that hard work was the only thing that was going to get me the results that I craved. I mean, I'm 40. I should have realised that 20 years ago, but I didn't, because I was doing these things that weren't motivating me to work hard, and that didn't happen until I found the burpee. The burpee was the first exercise modality that allowed me to work super hard. And that's when things started to fall into place for me. Up to that point, I thought I was working hard. I was doing all these programs, but I was never really working hard. I know that now by doing the work that I do with burpees and conditioning. Like, everything up to that point was like a day trip to Butlins. It was just, and I can't stress that enough. But you need to find the vehicle which allows you to work hard. Like, that's the only, like, hard work's going to scare off most people. Burpees are going to scare off most people. I've been on Twitter recently typing in burpees into Twitter just to see what people are saying, and the hatred that burpees get is astonishing. Astonishing. Like, it's not a liked exercise. It's like we've discussed this before. It's a hard sell, a super hard sell. People hate this exercise, but it's the only exercise that's available to you at any given moment to access hard work and get results.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, there's no excuse, right? Like you, I sat there for weeks and weeks and went, oh, you know, my back's a bit sore, or my leg's a bit sore, or or I haven't got time, or it's raining today. You know, like I think I did one of my burpee sessions. There was literally a storm going on outside, but I just did it under the deck outside because I didn't want to sweat all over the floor inside, because then I'd have to do, you know, housework or whatever. But you know, you just come up with all these excuses in your head. And people don't just do it with burpees. People do it with running. People do it with, you know, oh, I can't run, or I can't do this. They're just excuses. At the end of the day, they're just excuses. And if you only got to call out one simple benefit, right? Doing burpees increases your conditioning, which has hundreds of benefits for your physical and mental health. It's as simple as that. So find me an excuse that is better than that benefit. There isn't one. It just is simple as that. There is not an excuse that outweighs the benefit of doing exercise for anybody. But I think the difference is that you guys will understand, and probably most of the burpee community that watch this podcast will understand that, because that's their mindset. If you're someone who just hates exercise, listening to me turn around and go, but you know, it's going to make you feel good, and people just look at you like you're a mentalist, because they just, and I don't, getting someone to understand that mindset or change that mindset, that's where the power is, right? And whilst I laugh about Lee saying every answer was burpees on the forum, Lee's absolutely spot on, right? Like passion creates momentum, and so listening to Lee just say, do these burpees, and I feel eventually eventually it takes a while to get through all the I don't know, the concrete inside our brains before you get to the center. But eventually it got through, and eventually you start to hear it, and you're like, if this guy is so passionate about what he does, and if he genuinely is saying he's getting that much benefit out of it, there has to be something there. Like he's either that or he's totally insane, one or the other. Right? He's a nut job. And so that passion, when someone talks passionately about something they really, really love, it creates momentum, it creates movement, it makes you listen, it makes you do something. And that, I guess that was partly what drew me in and said, there's got to be something here. If this mad Scottish bloke is getting something out of it, there's got to be something here.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear, and great. That's see, look at that, Lee. How? So I want to ask, Rob, did you? You sounds like you discovered Lee on the forum.
Do you know what? It's interesting because I think Lee joined T Nation before I did. So
No.
So, but his actual training log was not on there until a couple of years after mine. So he was a long time lurker. He was one of those peek through the curtain kind of guys. And then eventually he decided, no, I need to get in and put a log on there. So awesome. 50-50, I think we found each other. Whether maybe T Nation was like a weird dating app or something. But we
doubles as a weird dating app.
We just found each other through exercise. I don't think I'd claim to discover him, but certainly, I would say I was probably one of his first subscribers when he went on YouTube, because he put it on there and he put a post on the forum and said, "Hey guys, I'm going to do a channel. Get on board." And I jumped straight on that, like I was supporting someone who just wanted to do hard work. And so I was on board pretty early with that journey. So yeah, it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's quite interesting you say that about being a long time lurker, because it's absolutely true. Because I don't like to add things to fitness information or training, because I think it's all been said. I don't think there's anything I can offer people with regards to you should do this exercise, or you should do this amount of sets, or you should do this amount of reps. I just think it's pointless. There's just too much noise in that respect. However, once I started a log and getting a bit of interaction with people, it definitely kick-started the momentum for me in a lot of ways. I mean, like I gathered a lot of momentum just through doing that T Nation log alone before I did any YouTube channel, before I discovered any burpees. And that's something I would always recommend to people that are just starting out in this game, is to have some form of log on an internet forum or some like-minded community, and just post their own progress and just start interacting with like-minded people, because that will definitely raise your game. It did for me. It did for me, and it exposed me to a lot of training styles as well. I would never have been exposed to Jared Miller if I had never started that T Nation log, and that was one of the most profound.
Oh, you lost him.
This guy, he just drops out, and that was one of the most profound bloop. Anyway, he'll probably jump back in later. Sorry, what were you going to say just then?
No, I was just going to say I actually agree with Lee. Certainly, either having a log or even the YouTube channel, I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, putting yourself out there for other people to read or other people to see definitely helps with maintaining consistency. For some people, I mean, I didn't do it for that reason, but certainly for some people, that's why they do it. And there is definite benefits. I think it's similar to, maybe 20 years ago, we didn't need to be on a forum because we went to a gym and we trained with a training partner or a like-minded person, or a group or whatever. And that's probably why some, particularly things like CrossFit and powerlifting, strongman, you tend to train in groups. So people don't necessarily need that kind of forum input. But for people who are training on their own, getting onto a forum or putting a log out there or getting a YouTube channel where you can connect and get feedback, there's definite benefits for their training.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Sorry for the technical hitch there. My phone just clicked off for some reason.
All right.
While I was mid-flow as well, but I like to see the fact that Rob just carried on seamlessly.
He did. He
I
did.
like that. A tag team.
After we blink and ribbed you a little bit, and then we carried on.
It's okay. I'm used to it now.
So, did you want to carry on? You got up as far as the last words of who you mentioned was around T Nation, and I think Rob probably carried on from what you were sort of elaborating on anyway.
Rob probably cleared it up for me. It's just you're looking for support, you're looking for motivation, and you're looking to access like-minded people who will give you ideas and inspiration to try stuff out. Like the way I did with Rob with Burpees, because I remember like I would communicate with Rob via Instagram. We would have chats, and I know he was interested in the Burpees, but he wasn't trying them. And there was a wee bit of pushback from him. You could tell he was like, "Okay, I'll try it, but I'll try it in my own time or whatever." And I knew, I knew I had him at this point. I was grooming him at this point, and I knew that if I just kept sort of prodding away, he just needed to get that first set out there, and then just feel the benefits and the euphoria that follows your first 50 or 100. Which leads me to my next question. When did it start clicking for you, Rob? When did it start? Like, at what Burpee workout did you go, right, this I'm actually enjoying this shit?
I think the first one was, I think it was a 300. I think I did a 300 where I shouted one of you guys out. I can't remember which order you went in. So
it was
one of them went first. It was the Kiwi machine, and then it was and then I forget what I call you. Probably the Scottish Maniac or something. But there was that where I got to 200 and I thought, no, I'm going to do 300, and I shouted you guys out 50-50, and that was probably the session for me where I'm like I wanted to push more. So up until then I was just doing a number because that was the number I'd said I was going to do, and you know, a lot of the time I heard you guys talk before about the burpee fantasy and stuff like that, and I'm probably not a burpee fantasizer, but I am a planner. I'm a very planned person. All my weight training is very planned. It's all programmed, and so when I even started doing the burpees, I'm a very analytical person, and so then I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to make burpees fit with this other training? When do I do a big session versus a small session? When do I do a high pump versus a low pump? Myself up in a bit of knots first of all, just trying to work out because I was so worried about that burpees were going to stop me being able to squat 150 kilos this week or whatever the number was. It was just stupid stuff, right? So I tied myself up in those knots, and it, that workout, I think, where I did the 300, I didn't plan to do 300. I think I planned to do 200, and then I got to 200 and thought, no, sod this. I can do more than this. I haven't fallen over. I haven't thrown up yet. I haven't passed out. And I've done all three of those I've done in the gym before. So if I haven't done those doing burpees, I can do more than 200, right? It's simple as that. So that was probably the workout where it tweaked for me, where I went, yeah, this is hard and it sucks, and I don't really love doing it, or not in the moment.
Yeah.
But I can do way more than I'm doing. Like I'm holding myself back a bit, and so that was the one where I went, nah, let's go for it. 250, 300. And once I kind of hit that 300, I think I did 310 in that session. I was like, now I don't have to worry about this anymore. Now I know I can just do it. And I even knew then, I think it was very quickly after then when I made the comments about doing 500. Even 100, I knew I could do 500 because I got to 300 and I didn't die. Believe it or not, I got to 300 and I didn't die. So I'm still here today, right? So, that was the point, and that was maybe, I reckon, about 4 to 6 weeks in. About 6 weeks, I think it took me to get to 300. So by then I'd done maybe 3 workouts a week. So call it 20 workouts to get to a point where I then went, nah, I can just do this, and there's benefits, and I can see the benefits, and I'm kind of hooked, and I'm going to go.
Awesome.
Right. So, what impact has the burpees had on your strength numbers?
Really zero in terms of them going down. So my initial worry when I started doing the wood was that they were going to, impact on the strength numbers. I would say body weight's gone down a little bit. I've probably lost a kilo or so. So it's 88 or maybe 87 or something like that. But I've probably lost a kilo, but I'm not trying to lose weight, and I eat a lot of food. So to onto the burpees, so which is good.
Yeah.
But in terms of, no, I mean, the strength block that I'm doing right now, or that I did, I started burpees at the end of October, so I've done 3 training blocks in terms of the powerlifting since then, and each training block has progressed exactly the same way it would progress if I wasn't doing burpees. So,
Nice.
so there's no impact whatsoever. The one thing that I'm seeing, not necessarily on strength. I mean, the simple fact from doing burpees is that my conditioning is so much better now than it was 16 weeks ago. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And 16 weeks ago, when I was training, I don't do a lot of supplements, but I'd probably drop a pre-workout before I went to the gym because I train quite late at night. I try to train once the day's finished for everybody else, so that the kids are all sorted, and then that's my time to go and train. And I would normally take some pre-workout just to give me, or maybe have a couple of black coffees just to give me do a Rob Williams, shout out Rob Williams, have a coffee, but I would have something to perk me up, and even then I would be quite tired through that training session. What I've noticed now, 16 weeks later after doing burpees, is that I don't take pre-workout, I don't take anything before I train, and when I'm sitting and I'm resting between the sets, I'm having to hold myself back. So I'm resting between heavy sets of deadlifts, and the reason why I'm resting is because I'm lifting pretty heavy weights. And it's not about, I'm not training to get sweaty, I'm not training to get out of breath, I'm training to increase strength. And so that's a different type of training. And so I need the rest in between. I need to rest 3 to 5 minutes, because if I don't, then I don't get the right performance for the next set. But I'm sitting there after 90 seconds, just
itching to go again.
I'm looking at the clock, and I'm staring at the ground. People must think I'm a lunatic because I'm counting things in my head. And I'm itching. I can feel myself itching, and people probably, but I'm holding myself back because I know I need to slow down, because the purpose of this isn't to do the training fast. The purpose of this is to hit the weights and the numbers that I need to hit in my program. So, but I've seen it. I can see it so clearly. Like, I sit there, and I'm recovered. I'm recovered from a set in 60 seconds, and I'm ready to go. Whereas 16 weeks ago, I was buggered for 5 minutes.
Are you training for a meet right now?
I'm not training for a meet right now. Well, I guess I'm always in a state of training for a meet at some point, right? So the training that I do, I follow just a simple, what they call block periodization training. So I just have training blocks through the year, and they're either a hypertrophy or a volume block, like a muscle gaining block, a strength block, a peaking block, or a recovery block. So there's 4 kind of, and I should do a shout out to Tim Wisey. He's my coach, so he does all my programming for me. And he's a guy that I met through another forum, through another Australian bodybuilding weightlifting forum. He lives up in New South Wales, and he helps me with all my programs. He's a great guy, and knows way more about all this training stuff than I do. So, I always like to try and, same as I've done with burpees, I guess, with you guys, is you surround yourself with people who know more than you. So I know I've been weight training since I was 15, 16 years old, and I know lots about weights, but when it comes to programming and things like that, I learned a long time ago that you're better off letting someone else do stuff for you. So Wisey does all my programs for me, and we're always in one of those 4 blocks. So right now we're in a strength block, and we'll do repeated strength blocks until either something breaks and we need to do a recovery and hold back, or until we've got a meet coming, and then we'll move into a peaking phase and we'll peak for a meet. I'm just doing repeated strength blocks, same training block over and over and over again, and the weights just go up a tiny bit each 4 to 6 weeks. So it's very basic, simple. It's pretty much the most basic kind of training system you can use. It's been used for 50 years. It's very slow. It's not something your typical gym goer is probably going to get excited about, because you're not talking about adding, massive gains to your bench in 6 weeks. You're talking about adding 5 kilos over 12 months.
Yeah.
Because that's real strength gains, right? So it's very different to that kind of bodybuilding or weight power kind of stuff that people do. And the good thing is it's different from the burpees, because the burpees you can get massive gains really quickly.
Yeah.
I can double what I do every workout if I want to. It just means that I've got to try and recover from it.
Yeah. No, I'm a firm believer that you need to let the body get used to the weight, as opposed to just firing weight in the bar as soon as your numbers hit the target. I think you should be sticking at numbers for a while instead of just constantly adding weight to the bar. I think that's probably a better long-term strategy for building strength and preserving longevity, instead of your classic progressive overload, where it's as soon as you hit 3 sets of 10, add weight to the bar. I think don't add weight to the bar straight away. Keep that same weight and let the body get used to that weight for a while, and then add weight to the bar.
Good tips. Good tips. Good advice. And I wanted to. What was your coach's name? Sorry, you said, Rob. Was it Tim?
Tim Wise, or Wisey. Yeah.
Tim Wise. Shout out, Tim. Oh, that's cool. That's great to hear. And I wanted to ask as well a couple other things that I've got on here. It seems like to me you're moving better overall. Do you feel like day to day since maybe the 16 weeks, or was it happening before? Do you feel like you're moving better and more capable and doing those things like you mentioned about the don't be a fat dad type thing?
Yeah, definitely. When I look at burpees very similar to when I started running. So I'll give a very, very sort of quick, brief history. But
that's good, because that was one of my questions about your running. So yeah, go.
I started weight training when I was 16 years old. I loved strength right from day one. I used to watch old 1930s Tarzan movies with Johnny Weissmuller in them when I was 7 years old, and run around thinking I was Tarzan and all that. That's probably something else. But and we watch World's Strongest Man at home. My mum and dad still watch it every New Year's Day. World's Strongest Man is on, and that used to be our thing. Our whole family watched World's Strongest Man, and I was always loved strength and those kind of big guys. I know I called Charles Bronson the other day, but it was that kind of thing. I just loved that from a young age. I don't know where that came from. My dad's a big guy. My dad's 6'3", 100. Well, back in the day, 100 plus kilos. Shout out to my dad. My dad's an absolute inspiration. He's in his mid to late 70s now. He goes to the gym 6-7 days a week. Still.
What's his name?
David. Yeah, so Big Dave, massive shout out. He's an inspiration to me right from day one. And so I think 16 years old, Joe Wade, a bodybuilding system book for my birthday. Dad bought my weight bench. We had a rusty old barbell set out in the garage. Dad used to train. And I started training at 16, 4 days a week with my dad. My dad went to work 12 hours, came home, and then he went in the gym with this stupid 16-year-old that was bouncing around. He wanted to lift weights, and he did it every day. And that's kind of where my initial influence for training came from, right? It was like, you just do it. And that comes from my dad. It actually comes from a saying my dad has: when you can't finish your food, or you won't drink your last bit of your pint down the pub, and he'll say, just get it down, just get it down, your son. and so now that's kind of grown into just get it done.
Just get it done.
And so 16, training like a crazy kid. I was the kid who went on the school field trip and put dumbbells in his rucksack, and the teacher nearly put their back out trying to put them on the minibus, because I was worried I was going to miss a day of training. I was addicted to training. I thought I was going to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was bodybuilding 4 or 5 days a week. And that continued right through right through to my 30, till I was 30 when I left the UK and I came to Australia.
Right.
And around that time, and I know Lee talks about this, I'd got to being 30 years old and went, all this bodybuilding stuff, and we didn't have the internet back then, it was bodybuilding magazines and whatever. It's all just a lie. It's all just a lie. Like, I've trained my ass off for 10 years and I trained hard, and I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, obviously I didn't take performance enhancing drugs, and and I don't have the genetics, of 0.001% of the population. But it was all a lie. Everything was an advert. It's just not real. Like, a lot of the industry, it's just not real. They're just selling you something. They're designed to sell you supplements. And so I moved to Australia, and I pretty much stopped training for the next 5 years. I just didn't do an awful lot. I did, when I say stop training, I was still active. And then my daughter was born 2009, and that was probably the initial thing that said, I've got to do something because I've got kids now and I need to. And I decided I was going to start running, and I hated running. And I'd always been that person, like you watch people on TV and you see them doing something maybe on some sort of fitness show. I've always been that person who went, oh, I can do that. That's bloody easy, right? And I'd always been a sort of person who said, everybody should be able to run 3 miles or 5 kilometers, right? You should just be able to go out your front door now and run 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
It might hurt. It might really hurt. But if you just keep going, I guarantee you can run, unless you're physically impaired or whatever. And so it got to sort of 2010, and I decided, I need to put my money where my mouth is, and I need to go for a run. And my neighbour, my best mate, my neighbour Ken, I should give a shout out to Ken KP. He was doing Ironman at the time. He was a triathlete, and he was an amazing athlete. And he would say to me, go for a run, a bit like Lee did with burpees, go for a run. And I decided one day I'd go for a run. And I did this run to the beach and back from my house, which is about 5 Ks. And I didn't stop the whole way. And I walked into the back garden and I stopped to get a breather on the back deck. And within 30 seconds, I couldn't move. Like, every muscle just locked up in my body. I had to call Emma to get me some water and come, because I literally couldn't walk. I couldn't move. My whole body cramped up.
Wow.
But I did it. I said, you could do it, you do it. And so at that point, I decided I was going to start running. And Ken kind of took me under his wing, and that was the first time I learned about programming and about training rather than exercising. Because if you try to run and you just run more each time you run, you break within 4 weeks. Everybody does, right? You got to have, there's slow runs, fast runs, tempo runs. So long story short, but Ken helped me, and he took me under his wing, and he did a lot of work in terms of what I should do. Every morning, he's my neighbour and he's my best mate out here, and we'd meet out on the driveway at 4:30 in the morning, and we'd go for a run. And we were running 4, 5, 6 days a week. And I did that for 5 years. And in that 5 years, I ran 2,000 Ks a year. And I ran half marathons. I ran fun runs, again, steam trains up hills through the rainforest. We did a half marathon from the bottom of Mount Buller to the top of Mount Buller in Australia, which is a 22K run with 1,200 metres of elevation. So you just run uphill for 22 kilometres. So you talk about, dark place engagement and all those things.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have got through any of that stuff without Ken's help, because he was a machine, and he still is. And I was kind of just learning and coming along for the ride. But I proved to myself that you can just do it. If you just keep going, you'll do it. And when I ran, to get back to your question about movement and how I'm moving, when I was running, my movement was amazing, right? Like even when I just went for a walk, my wife would tell me to slow down because I walked too fast. And if I walked upstairs, I ran upstairs 2 steps at a time. Like, I was light. I was 72 kilos. I was light, and having done the burpees for 16 weeks, I'm starting to experience that lightness again. So when I go upstairs and I'm not no different body weight. I'm still hitting the same weight. Like, I'm still doing all of that. I'm still eating the same food. I'm not really doing anything different. I'm just doing burpees 4 days a week. And now, like, when I go for a walk, the kids all say, "Dad, slow down. You're walking too fast." When I go walk upstairs, I fly up the stairs two at a time to put them to bed, or I chase them up there and throw them in bed. And 16 weeks ago, I was taking it one step at a time, and I'd say to my son, "Oh, you go and get in bed, mate. I'll be up there in a minute." Right, I was because everything was sore. My back was sore. My legs were sore. So just
That's
16
great to
weeks
hear.
of burpees. Your movement is good. My recovery is good. Like, just even though I'm sore when I do burpees because I'm sore from the gym the day before,
Yeah.
after I finish the burpees, whether that's just endorphins or whether it's just mental, I don't feel that soreness anymore. I feel like I can move again. So it definitely has a restorative quality to it. What I would say is that I am careful about how much I do on some days. So you'll notice that some days I do a nifty 50, and then other days I do 500. I couldn't just do 500 every day. Like, I couldn't do 300 every day. I think that eventually that would wear me down. But as long as I think about what I'm doing and I tailor the sessions, then the benefits are there. Like, I'm faster, I'm more movable, I'm recovering better. Pretty much everything other than maybe being more attracted to the opposite sex. Pretty much everything else, burpees are doing it for me at the moment.
That's awesome, Rob. Great to hear. Man, really good. And great to know that overall, you're feeling those benefits, because I've mentioned in a couple of your videos when I've seen them on there, you do look like you're moving really well. It just looks smoother. Your technique and form was always good anyway, like the depth of the push-ups and all that sort of stuff was good, but it just, from my side anyway, I can tell you're moving a heck of a lot better through the burpees. They're smoother, they're more fluid, they're quicker as well. So the times and stuff that you're getting are quicker, which is great to see. So I just was interested to hear, and it's nice how you've painted that picture and the comparison with all the running, because I know, when I run, I certainly feel like I move a lot better, but without running, and that I hadn't been doing for a while because I was making those excuses on my Achilles and stuff. Doing the burpees allowed me and enabled me to still be able to move around reasonably well, and still be out there with the kids and that sort of stuff. So that's great to hear your experiences with that too.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask.
Go on, you
Hey,
go.
no, you go.
I was going to say, I've seen that obviously you started your running again. I don't run at all now. I haven't run for 5 years. I haven't run a step for 5 years.
Yeah.
I had an injury, and then a grade 2 calf tear, and took about 14 weeks to recover. Couldn't run for 14 weeks, and I'd planned and paid to go up to the Gold Coast to run a half marathon up there, and so I said to the physio, "Look, can I still run it?" And he's like, "Well, you can, but you'll have 2 weeks of training, because you won't be able to run for 14 weeks. So I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Can I walk?" So you can walk. And that's when I started going to the gym. So that was that was the reason why I started back on the weights. And I still went up to the Gold Coast. I'd literally done one 10K run and one 5K run. That's all I'd done in 14 weeks.
Right.
And I stood on the start line, and I in my mind, I wanted to run under 1 hour, 40 minutes for the half. I wanted a half marathon that had a 1:30 something on it, and so even though I hadn't done any training, they have those guys with balloons on them, and they're timers, and I stood next to the guy with 1:40, and my mind was, I'm just going to keep next to you for as long as I possibly can, and I think I kept him up to halfway between 10 and 11 kilometers, and then I died. And the last 10K of that half marathon was the most painful thing I think I've done in a long time. And I crossed the line, and that's when I said to myself, right there and then, I'm never running again. And I went back to the apartment. My wife was there, Emma was there, went back to the apartment. She goes, "How did you do?" I said, I did okay. I got 150, 152, something like that, which was still an okay time.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And I said, "I got 152, but I'm never running again." And she looked at me and was like, "Really?" I said, "No, that's it. I'm done. Shoes are up. I'm not running again." And I haven't run for 5 years.
What an awesome story. Is she waiting? She's not waiting for you to come back with the same story about burpees, is she?
Well, she probably, but most things I stick to, and as long as I don't get a burpee injury, I'll probably be okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear, man. That's full on. That's a great time, by the way, for the half marathon as well, especially coming off the calf tear strain injury and not being able to get a lot of training in. So yeah, awesome work with that. I was going to ask you about nutrition. How is your what's your nutrition consist of? What are you, 6 meals a day, 3 meals a day plus snacks? What's the 1 meal a day, intermittent fasting? What do you do?
So I guess I'm like with my training, more like with the powerlifting, my diet is very simple. I try to keep it very simple. As I said, I'm quite a planned person, so I hate the words meal prep, but I'm a preparation kind of person. So my meals look very similar. So breakfast is probably the meal in terms of my diet. Breakfast is the meal where I cheat the most, and that's because I'm normally in a rush to get to work, right? So breakfast is some simple little bit of cereal and a protein shake. My approach to my diet is all about getting enough protein in across the day, and for me that's 200 grams of protein. That's what I try to eat, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And so I try and split that up as evenly as I can into 40 grams a meal, so it's 5 meals a day. And I don't care about anything else. I don't really care about fats. I don't care about carbohydrates. I try and eat clean food, but I also eat crap. So breakfast is always a bit of cereal with a protein shake every day. For lunch, I have 2 meals at work. I always eat 2 meals at work. And what I do on a Sunday is I cook up a batch of chili or chili con carne, or whatever you want to call it. I have chili and rice, and I basically have 2 kilos of meat, beans, all the stuff in there, veggies, mix it all up. And that 2 kilos of meat gets broken down into 10 meals. So it's 200 grams of meat. 200 grams of meat is about 46, 47 grams of protein. And then by the time you add the beans and everything else, it gets to 50 grams. And so I've been eating 2 meals of chili a day at work every day for 5 years.
Wow,
I literally have the same meal every day. People at work are like, aren't you sick of eating? Because they're sick of the smell when I cook it. And I'm like, are you not sick? You've been eating that same food every day. And I said, but how many people come to work and they just eat a sandwich every day? It's no different, right? They're no different. The difference is that I can make this on a Sunday in 20 minutes. All my lunches are done. I'm guaranteed to get 2 good meals a day with perfect protein, blah, 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 whatever. And so as long as I get those 2 meals right, dinner, it doesn't matter to me. Dinner is whatever Emma and I decide to cook for the kids and whatever we decide to have. And then I always have something before bed, and that's typically like a bowl of Greek yogurt with protein powder mixed in and some peanut butter and some other stuff. So I do a big kind of high protein dessert, and that's my treat for the night.
Nice.
And that's my week, and my week looks like that. That's it every week.
Very consistent.
Food.
Same food.
Yeah, very consistent, and it's the same with my training. It's the same old boring training every week. Slowly add a little bit each week, but that works, right? Like
it works. The results prove and speak for themselves, mate. That's awesome. And so I was going to ask you. You were speaking about it makes me laugh with the nutrition and people getting sick of the smell and stuff of the meals and that there. Moving better. That was it. So you said you eat crap from time to time, which is cool to hear because so do I. So what are one of your go-to cheat meals, or what do you classify as crap that you will eat from time to time?
So yesterday we met with some friends of ours at the park in the afternoon with their kids. They got kids that go to school with our kids. Yeah. And then we went and got pizzas. So yesterday I probably ate 1.5 large pizzas for dinner. I can eat a lot of food when it's in front of me. So I woke up this morning, like the amount of salt that I consumed in that pizza yesterday, I must have drunk about 1 gallon of water last night, and I woke up so dry this morning because it was overload, just sodium overload. So, but yeah, pizza is my go-to. If I had to eat one thing for the rest of my life, it would be a good pepperoni pizza. I could eat that every day, forever. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, good to know, Pepper. What other tell us, I haven't asked, I don't think I've asked anybody this on the podcast yet, but can you share with us one thing that people within the Burpee community wouldn't know about you? Within, keep it, not too far out the gate.
Yeah, sure. How about I once danced at the Royal Albert Hall. How's that one?
Did you? So,
Yep.
you once danced. So the Royal Albert Hall. That sounds very posh and very flash.
Yeah, it's
is
a
it?
big theatre in London. Yeah, where they used to have like the Royal Variety shows and those types of things.
Wow.
I once danced on stage at the Royal Albert Hall. So there's
A solo by yourself or with a group of?
in a big group of people.
And what was that for? Were you part of the charity? Doing a charity event for that?
No,
or?
it was part of. I was pretty young. I was probably 10, 11 years old. It was part of a thing for like a scouts group or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
We're doing like a big show event for the community or for parents or whatever. And
Right.
our troupe or whatever, we did a particular dance. So I was when I say dance, I'm probably expanding a little bit on that. I was a snowman, and my dance involved me kind of walking around the outside in this snowman costume, kind of doing this kind of thing. So that's about the extent of my dancing. But
So the dancing was a bit of a embellishment, let's say. So you were a snowman.
The snowflakes that were dancing around us were definitely dancing, but we were kind of shuffling.
That's gold. And what was it? The Royal Albert Hall, did you say?
Yeah, Royal Albert Hall in London. If you look that up, it's
Royal
a very
Albert
famous,
Hall.
very famous, beautiful
London.
old theatre in London. Yeah.
Right. Oh, thank you for sharing that. And where are we? Actually, one of Lee's questions. Sorry, everybody. Lee has kept dropping in and out. He's using his mobile because his laptop is rubbish. But anyway, we'll come back. I got some. I'll ask you. I know Lee likes to ask that question, so I was going to leave it for him. But I'm going to ask it because he's not on here, and he hasn't jumped back in yet, so I'm not sure what he's doing. But Lee always likes to ask this one. Who have you got your eye on in terms of, or who have you been following recently? Because I know you support pretty much everybody within the community as much as you can. You're a regular, even when I go to other people's videos and I see you've usually already commented, words of support or encouragement or getting cheeky or whatever, which is cool.
Yep.
So who have you been watching or keeping an eye on recently? Who are your top three, as Lee would put it?
So certainly,
and you're not allowed to mention Lee as well
no,
either.
That's fine.
Yeah,
everybody at that point normally says it's okay. I wasn't going to.
You're good.
But obviously, it goes without saying, everyone who's been on your podcast already are all people that I watch and follow and all that sort of stuff. So let's keep them out of the pile.
Yeah.
So hopefully those guys, and anyone who's been on the podcast before, you don't get a mention. You've had your moment in the light,
yeah.
right? So certainly in my list at the moment, I'm spending a fair bit of time watching and talking with Barefoot Burpees.
Yeah, nice.
Love the stuff he's doing. Like when you see his videos and he's there in his room, it's a bit dark and he's got It looks like someone's kidnapped him. I'm expecting Liam Neeson to come in at some point and burst through the door and say, "Son, I found you, son. I found you, son," and take him away, like in that Captured or whatever the movie is. But I love his stuff. His movement is incredible. Guy's doing 200 plus burpees on his knuckles in 20 minutes with the same pace. Beautiful reps, strong guy, and he's just a nice guy. Like he likes to have a bit of banter, he likes to communicate, fun guy. So definitely watching Barefoot Burpees. He's great. Chris Crable over in the US, wearing his scrubs, and doing 40 minutes of bloody 22 count burpees or whatever he's doing in his lunchtime. Counting them out like a lunatic in the middle of the car park outside some, I don't know whether it's a medical facility or it's a mental facility, and he's escaped. I don't know which one it is. But
I think maybe they let him wear.
You're a legend, mate. I love the stuff you do.
Yeah, he's awesome.
So he's
Maybe
on
maybe
there.
they just let him wear the scrubs and go out there and tell everybody he's a medical
I'm
doctor.
sure there's something like that because but no, I also see him do stuff at home, and I know he's got a family because he gets
Yeah,
interrupted and stuff. But Chris, great guy, and he's very supportive
legend.
of stuff I've done. Yeah, he's definitely a legend. And then, oh man, it's between three. There's three guys that I look at. David Witten up in Canada, up in
Yeah,
Labrador. Love
Canada.
David. He's really
Yeah,
supportive of my channel, and he's. I guess there's guys who I watch who are
incredible guy.
bigger guys as well. Like I know he's similar weight to me, and he's a
Yeah,
bit of a unit too, and
yeah, he's
he's
solid.
moving really well. And then probably two guys. I know you said three, but we'll just shout out.
That's all right. Go on.
Aaron Olympic Steel, who also does
Yeah,
a lot of weightlifting and stuff. Man, he's cracking out Navy SEALs and hard shit every day, and he's looking really good.
yeah.
And then right now, I'm really loving Kurt from Alabama, who's just started his burpee journey. So his name is One Truck 22.
One truck 22. All
Yeah,
right, I'll
Truck
check that out.
22. But his name, so truck is Kurt backwards. So he's One Truck TRUK 22.
Gotcha.
And he's from Alabama. He's a powerlifting guy. So he's a 500-pound squatter. But
Whoa.
he's 60 something years old. He's
Far out.
still squatting 500 pounds without a belt, and he's just got up to 30 burpees. He started at 20. He's did 21, 22,
Bloody
23.
hell.
He's got up to 30 burpees. Really nice guy, and I'm really enjoying just watching his progression. So
That is
yeah,
awesome.
So I know you.
I'm
said
going to get
three,
onto
and
that.
I know that's five, but
That's all right. I'll
shout
put
out
them all
Kurt.
in. Definitely, yeah. I'm going to put those guys in. I'll put them in the show notes and stuff on the channel, and I'll go and grab the links. I've got the links for 4 of those, but I'd not come across Kurt till you've just mentioned him, so I'll definitely make sure I add that in there. Here's Lee now. He's come back, so he's trying to jump back in. I'll just let him know, mate. We just did the 3 people he's been following. I was saving it for you, but I wasn't sure how you were going. But he mentioned barefoot burpees. Chris Crable, David Witten, Olympic Steel, and another guy, Kurt, One Truck 22. Now, we know that's 5 instead of 3, but it was worth it.
I'm just raging if I mentioned me.
Yeah, no. He never mentioned you. I let him know that he couldn't mention you anyway, but he was like, oh, yeah, I wasn't going to do that.
Listen, can I just apologise for the technical hitches? The app once
good.
again seems to continuously crash on my phone, so you've just
No
missed
worries.
10 minutes of rage in a Hazard household there.
We need to do a burpee GoFundMe for Lee for a new laptop. If everyone in the burpee community gives $1, we can get you a new laptop, mate.
Yeah, get me a new laptop, a tablet, an iPad. Go for
That'd
it.
be good. That'd be good.
He's what's the term? He's turned his nose up to a laptop. He goes, nobody loses laptops these days. I'll get a tablet. Hey, Rob, who wins? Who wins out of these guys I've mentioned before? Robert McCall, the Equalizer, Jack Reacher, John Wick, Jason Bourne, or James Bond?
So when we say Jack Reacher, is it Jack Reacher as he is in the books, or is it that abomination of the movie with Tom Cruise in it? Which one is it?
Or I'll let you choose. Let's go with the book one because it sounds like.
So if we go with the book one or the new TV season that's just come out on Prime or whatever, then Jack Reacher kicks everyone's ass, mate.
Is there Jack Reacher? All right.
Yeah.
Jack
In the
Reacher is-
books, I don't know if you've read those books by Lee Child.
I haven't.
Being ex-services, you probably, some of you would like it, and the rest of you would go, "This is total rubbish." But the character is incredible. So definitely Reacher for me. That's my favourite book series. Love it. Love Reacher.
Jack Reacher. All right. Chocolate or pizza?
Pizza, as we talked about already. Pizza.
Yeah. Okay. So chocolate or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Ice cream or pizza?
Nah, still pizza.
Still. All right.
But they're very close. They're very close. Like the biggest downfall for anyone out there who doesn't have children, the biggest downfall for having children is that ice cream disappears in your house. right? So I love ice cream, and I like to buy, you know,
Gallons.
a higher priced ice cream. I don't buy just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cheapest crap.
Yeah.
And the kids just and when it's my own fault because when I scoop ice cream, you know, like I've got one of those scoop things and you
A
scoop.
bucket. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but when I scoop, if you scoop really hard, you can make the ice cream dense, so you can get twice the ice cream in the size of one scoop. So Emma doesn't realise how much ice cream I'm eating in one scoop in my bowl, right? So, but the problem is I do that for the kids as well, and so a tub of ice cream lasts like 2 days in our house. It's just gone, and so whenever I want ice cream, I go to the freezer. There's no bloody ice
No
cream there.
more.
I've got to walk to the shops and get some ice cream. So ice cream all
These
day.
are
But
obviously tactics that were learned during the Fat Dad days.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh man, what's your music? What's favorite genre of music that you listen to or that you enjoy? Do you listen to music when you're training, or what's the?
In the gym, obviously it's a commercial gym, so they just play what do you call
Yeah,
it, duff,
whatever.
duff duff music, whatever,
Duff, duff.
whatever kind of dance, and that's fine. Like that, if I'm training in the home gym, and
Yeah.
when I say the home gym, that's actually Ken's gym, my neighbour. He's a trainer, so he has a whole setup at home, and he's very kind and allows me to be the founding member of that gym, and so I use that. So shout out again to Kenny. If I'm in there and I've got my own music on, it's normally some sort of rock music, Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, anything that's got a decent beat to it,
Right.
or some rap. So I might throw on some 90s rap, some Ice-T or some
Nice.
Dr. Dre or something like that. It depends on what I'm feeling on the day, but it'll either be something hard rap or rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a
Right.
massive Ice-T fan, like years ago, a massive Ice-T fan.
Yeah, that '91 OG album. That's my go-to for Ice-T.
Yeah,
It's
that was
a
one of
bit
my
rude.
favourite
There's a lot of
albums
swearing
growing
in
up.
it. It's very rude.
Yeah, I still listen to it now and again on Spotify. But that was one of my defining albums of my teenage years. Was
Yep.
the OG album.
Yeah, it's a brilliant album.
I was going to say drop us a few bars, Lee, but no, that's all right. You don't have to. You can if you want. But
I'll get you to jail, mate.
favorite sport, Rob?
Oh, it's a good one. I guess
Sport.
from a pure watching point of view, growing up, I was a football fan, or let's call it soccer for all those Americans and Australians watching. But I was a football fan mostly growing up. You know, played a bit of football and what have you, and I also played a lot of tennis. So I played
Right.
competition tennis from 11 to 16 years old. So I do follow tennis. I like watching tennis.
Nice. Were you? Can I ask with football? Were you one of them hooligans running about?
Not so much. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan. So for those who do follow soccer, football, Tottenham's my team. And
Tottenham.
back in the late 80s, I used to go to games. So we would go and get on the train. I live pretty close to London, and we would get on the train and go into London to watch games. And as a 15-year-old, you know, you going into London at that time with your mates, it was at times extremely frightening because you would, if you're in a train station and then a load of especially if it was Arsenal or Chelsea, who there are big rivalries between Tottenham and Arsenal and Tottenham Chelsea, and if their fans came through, you just hid. You just went and hid because you were so frightened that it was going to be football hooligans coming and fighting. You know, no. Luckily enough, I was too young to be in that kind of scene, and by the time I was
Right.
old enough to probably put up a good fight, they'd changed it all, and all the hooligans were out of football, and you had photo memberships, and you couldn't get into the grounds and fight unless
Yeah,
you were
right.
unless you were up in Glasgow and you're a Rangers fan, you're probably still kicking on up there.
Well,
That's
that's
it, mate.
yeah. Lee's still one of them hooligans kicking around, I reckon. So we don't need to ask you those two. Well, actually, you already know who the Glasgow Rangers are. I'm assuming you would know who the All Blacks are, right?
Yeah,
You
for real,
better.
for real. Rugby union. I'm not so much these days, but I was a big follower of rugby union. My one of my cousins played for England for rugby union and
wow.
back in the day. So I followed rugby union a lot back when I was in the UK. Not so much now. Now I'm in Melbourne. Everything here is Australian rules football in Victoria, right? There's no other sport except AFL. Like, forget soccer, forget rugby. Like, only one who ever wants to talk about is what they call footy, which I call AFL. So I don't really get to see so much of that now. But I was a big rugby union fan back in the day. So yeah, definitely know. I've been to see the All Blacks play a number of times.
Nice.
So definitely know that.
Can I just interject?
Go.
When I stayed in Melbourne, I was forced to go to an Australian rules match.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most surreal experiences of my life.
3 days long.
I don't know the rules, so it was quite dull to me, right? But at half time, everybody left the stadium. And it was full of grown men kicking balls into the air vertically.
Yeah, they go onto the field and kick the balls to each other.
Kick balls into the air. And I was like, these guys are absolutely crazy.
Do you know,
sitting there dodging balls. It's like grown man, it just comes up and volleys some fucking rugby ball.
The thing with AFL, Lee, and you're spot on. The first time you go and watch it, if you've never seen it before,
and if you don't understand,
you've got no clue what's going on, and it seems like the strangest game. When you look at it from a grassroots and your kids are playing it and things like that, and you learn it from that end, you actually realise that it's probably a game you would have loved to play when you were a kid, because the basics of the game are really simple. You run with the ball and you kick it to somebody. There's none of this offside rule and don't pass it back to the keeper and all these other things. It's just a really simple game. Kick the ball to somebody and catch it, and then kick it to someone else.
And you can get smashed from anywhere.
Oh yeah, and you can get smashed even when you don't have the ball. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things there that
Lee would love it. You can just run
Lee
into
would.
the ball.
Yeah, he would love it. You just unleash him. Go, Lee, go. And my last question I've got on here before I let Lee wrap up, and I'd like to share a few words as well. You got to finish this sentence for us, Rob. My favourite podcast is...
Move, Sweat, Suffer.
Good work. Top
Now,
man.
Just before you finish, I just want a couple of things if I can.
Go on.
So when I did that 100 and I got Lee's name wrong and I got him as Luke, I just want to quickly talk about Luke, right? It made me think Hazard. I don't know if you know much about your name or the origins of your name, Lee, but the name Hazard, I was
Dukes
like,
of Hazzard?
doesn't sound like a very Scottish name, Hazard. You know, I thought you were all kind of Mook something or whatever up there, right? So I did a little bit of research into the name Hazard because I thought it's an interesting name for a Scotsman. So I'm going to read this because I couldn't remember it, right? But so that the Hazard is a name whose history begins in 1066 with the Norman conquest of England. So if you remember 1066, the Battle of Hastings, where the arrow went in the eye, that's where the name Hazard originates from. And it's a Norman name, so it's a bloody French name that is used for a person who takes chances or is a gambler, right? Right? And it's derived from an old French word hazard with an S, hazard, and it means a game of dice played by a gambler or one who is prepared to run risks. Now, if that is not perfect for Lee Hazard, a bloody gambler. I mean, I will give away the fact that it was originally French. I'm guessing your old Scottish granddaddy maybe found a French lady or something and then took on the name, but that is where the name Hazard comes from. So
awesome.
I thought you might find that interesting. Now, what about Hotai? What about Hotai? I'm sure Joe knows everything about his name. I'm sure he's done a history search. So with Hotai, it was a bit difficult to find. What I could find from Hotai is that Hotai means the wise warrior. Now, actually, that's a complete lie. I couldn't find out. I couldn't find out what Hotai meant. But what I did find out about Hotai is that it's very common in Iran and it's very common in Jamaica. So I got no idea what that means. Whether you're got an Iranian Jamaican history, Joe, but that's what I could find out about Hotai. So there you go, guys. We've got a gambler and a Jamaican Iranian. I don't know how it works, but
That's awesome, man. Rob, I'm going to take some time before I know Lee's going to have the final word, and then we'll wrap up. But mate, what an absolute privilege to have you on the podcast. Your level of knowledge and the information that you've shared with Lee and I and with our guests is fantastic. I know they're really going to benefit from it, as I have. I've taken down some notes. Shout out to your sweetheart, Emma. Thank you for mentioning her and the work that she does, and Tim Wise for his programming that he does for you. And how you take that on board, and obviously the people that you've mentioned. I just want to mention that one truck 22, Kurt, is powerlifting, because we know the other ones on there, and I'll make sure I mention them in there. But that's really nice to hear, you're following along with somebody like that with regards to his progress and his journey. So we'll make sure to get on over and subscribe and support him as well and what he's doing. But mate, what a life, eh? And we've only just scratched the surface. We look forward to having you back on. But I just want to mention from my side, and I know Lee will as well, acknowledge you and thank you for the work that you put out, the example that you are within the community, and especially the support that you give to both Lee and I, but also to all the other members within the community, taking time to do that, to put in a nice comment or message, or to get cheeky and all that sort of stuff and keep the banter going, which is fantastic. Mate, you're an absolute stalwart within this community, and we're privileged and thankful to have you as part of it. And thank you very much for all that you continue to do. And we look forward to seeing more of your progress as you carry on. So thank you for coming on the podcast today, mate. And we'll be sure to have you back on again down the track. Over to you, Lee.
I just want to echo Joe's sentiments, but first I want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to hear the origins of the surname Hazard. I think that was quite a novel gesture,
awesome.
which we've never experienced. Although I'm a bit disappointed with Joe's surname. I thought it would have related to somebody of ill temper. And
maybe it does.
However, we won't go into that. But what I would like to say is it's been an absolute pleasure for myself speaking to Rob. We have communicated via social media, but it's actually been good to get a chat with him, other than the technical hitches and so forth. But one thing that always struck out about Rob, like speaking to him on the T-Nation forums, was how much a nice guy he was. He never really had a bad word to say about anybody, and that was the one thing that stood out about Rob. I tend to find in these forums they can be quite acidic, and particularly within the fitness community. But one thing that stood out about Rob was how supportive he was, and just how generally a nice character he was. And I think that shows through in his videos. So it's been an absolute pleasure. And just before we wrap up, I had a great idea while we were doing this. I think we should do a show with the Busy Dad and Rob. I think that would be
actually, it's a great idea.
A good show with the Busy Dad's powerlifting background and so forth. So I'm just putting that out there right now in case I forget.
That way you get the nice English and the gutter in the same video. Is that what it is? Two ends of the spectrum, mate.
You get two quaint Englishmen, and you get a crazy hot-headed Kiwi and
a French Scotsman.
That's it, a French Scotsman.
Oh, beautiful. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much, this has been Lee Hazard from Strong and Conditioned, and myself, Joe Hotai, hosts of the Move, Sweat, Suffer podcast. Privileged to have the incredible Rob Simpson, the Mr. Beef Castle himself. Just do burpees from Lee Hazard to him. But privileged to have you on, mate. Thank you for joining us, and have an awesome day, bro.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you.